Yeah, Nuggets Nation, we are live, and I was not expecting to go live today, man, to react to some unbelievable blockbuster breaking news as it results to the Denver Nuggets. Guys, we have pulled it off. The Denver Nuggets and their new GM combo, right? Or if you want to say it's Ben Tenzer, you want to say it's a mix of both the guys, whatever it is that you guys want to say. They pulled it off, man. They certainly pulled it off, and a very special shout out to John Wallace and Ben Tenzer for pulling off the unimaginable as per Sham Sharania, as you guys can see here on the Twitter feed from just about 2 hours ago. The Denver Nuggets have traded Michael Porter Jr. and an unprotected 2032 first round pick to the Brooklyn Nets for Cam Johnson. This is an unbelievable 10 out of 10 type of a trade that the Nuggets have pulled off. And to make it even better, right? To make it even better than how it originally started, they proceeded to bring back the man, the myth, the legend himself, Bruce Brown, on a 1-year deal for the veteran minimum. Guys, there's a lot to unpack here, man. I'm going to try my best to unpack it. As you can see, I typically talk Broncos on this channel, but I don't want to forget about my Avalanche and my Denver Nuggets, because those are also the teams as well. And this is huge, and this, in my opinion, was something that was unimaginable, as the Nuggets were in a situation where they were strapped up against the cap. They basically had no money. Essentially, everybody thought, all right, maybe we can add a veteran or two in hopes that they can add to the bench depth. And then the return of Deron Holmes, he can kind of show some things. And then maybe, Peyton Watson and the young guys, Julian Strawther, Jalen Pickett, maybe those guys can ultimately develop. Well, now we don't have to worry about it anymore, because the worst value by far and away, and one of the worst players, frankly, on the Nuggets team has been traded and is gone, and Michael Porter Jr. And that is huge. To get his salary off the books, I don't care if you're giving up a 2032 first round pick, and I don't care if you got nobody in advance, like in return, it would have still been a good deal, because he hamstrings you so much, and he was basically forcing you to run it back. But man, oh man, shout out to the Nuggets front office, the new revamped front office, for being able to pull off this trade and not only replace Michael Porter Jr. with a better player in Cam Johnson, somebody that's going to give you a lot more. We'll dive into that, but also be able to bring back Bruce Brown, and still now we have money to get a few more players. One of them being a mid-level exception. We'll talk about what it is that means, and more news and more notes that are coming for the Nuggets. So let's kind of break this down. I went over here on Fanspo. I broke down what this trade would look like, right? And as you can see, if we were to redo the trade, prior to the trade, the Nuggets were over the first apron by minus $1.2 million. And when you're in the first apron space, you're not going to want to creep yourself to get to the second apron. You're basically, as I said, in a hamstrung position, to where you try to get Zeke Naji off the books, but who's going to want to trade for him? Maybe you can do something with Saric, but that kind of screwed you. We were really in a bad holding pattern. But now with the trade for Michael Porter for Cameron Johnson, not only are we, below the cap, we're well below the first apron space. We've got a lot of money to be able to go out there and sign. You add Bruce Brown to the mix, you're putting yourself about $9 million left to get the first apron space. Now, what does this mean? Very confusing. The Nuggets, the NBA cap situation is a little bit different. So it took me some time to kind of get to know, kind of see what it was like. And I'd love to know what you guys think below. But this is big news, man. This is huge for the Nuggets, because now they have the ability to go after a mid-level exception player, which means somebody that is worth about $14.7 million average salary. You can sign without having to worry about them going into the first apron space or not. It gives you a ton of flexibility to be able to do that. Who are some guys that are some names that come out? I'm going to go into the Discord here and talk about somebody. But forward Gershon Yabusele, who has previously played with the 76ers. He was limited to a $5.6 million taxpayer mid-level exception, and he's somebody that the Nuggets have said, the Nuggets have reportedly shown interest in, but obviously with the Michael Porter situation and the kind of cap that they were in, they weren't able to get him. Now they have the ability to get somebody like that. And he's an intriguing player because he's kind of an ascending guy. He'd be a very, very good depth number 2 center behind Jokic, which is obviously what we need. You can also look at, adding some legitimate 3-point shooters. That's one of the big things that the Nuggets had really struggled with. But man, I cannot tell you how elated I am with this trade. You're getting somebody in Cam Johnson to replace Michael Porter Jr. In the starting lineup for a much cheaper rate. And so when you look at this trade, when it's all said and done, it's going to be, you traded Michael Porter Jr. in the first round pick for Cam Johnson, for Bruce Brown, and really whoever else we ultimately bring in for the rest of the offseason, because it's allowed for us that flexibility. And it's going to be huge for somebody like Nikola Jokic to play with someone like Cam Johnson. What you hear about him, he's a very, very smart, high IQ player. He's still a solid shooter, somebody that can, knock down the 3 ball, but you're going to get significantly better overall basketball. He's actually going to be able to take more dribbles than he does shots. He's going to give you legitimate length and effort on the defensive side of the ball. He's going to be able to, he's a better spot finder. He can spread the floor a little bit better. He can be a little bit more efficient with his scoring. And with the Nikola Jokic bump, I expect for people to be able to really, really see that. And so when you break it down, when we look at it, right, these are the stats for Michael Porter Jr. over the course of his career. And specifically last year, he played in 77 games, 33 minutes. Yes, he's a good rebounder. That's a big thing, right? He gets a lot of the rebounds, especially when Jokic is not on the court. Whatever, it is what it is. And 18.2 points. When you're flipping over to Cam Johnson now, he's somebody that, again, also 18.8 points. So he didn't give you any less in terms of the overall scoring. He actually played in less minutes. And when I look at it, he shot a little bit less field goal percentage, but the 3-point percentage essentially the same. 39.5 for Michael Porter Jr. and 39 from somebody like Cam Johnson. But you also have to take into account, he's actually a better free throw shooter than Michael Porter Jr. is too. But you've got to take into account the Nikola Jokic bump, right? He didn't have much of anything in his time in Brooklyn. Nikola Jokic is going to be able to eat up a lot of the double teams, and it's going to give Cam Johnson significantly more opportunities to go out there and make plays. He's going to have higher quality looks. And I expect for him to be a player that, if he's healthy, can certainly average over 20 points per game. But more importantly, man, he's going to be someone that can give you so much more on the defensive side of the ball, so much more, in the mid-range. And he's just, like I said, just an overall high IQ basketball player. And I think one of the big things, my biggest gripe with Michael Porter Jr., and I'm definitely not a fan of Michael Porter Jr.'s game, is that he does one thing only. And he doesn't even do that one thing very well. He's extremely inconsistent. If he's not hitting shots, that is it. You've seen those spurts. You've seen those moments with Michael Porter Jr. where, he's someone that, if he's bought in defensively, he actually looks like a really good defender. No doubt about it. But I think that it's one of those things where he doesn't show the effort a lot. And those are the kind of players that piss me off the most. Like I would always rather take an NBA player that's just not very good, but plays their ass off, than someone that has a lot of talent and doesn't try at all. And that's what you get with Michael Porter Jr. So I'm thrilled that he's gone. I'm thrilled that contract is big. It's going to yield a lot of benefits, not just for this season, but for the years to come, to be able to have a lot of flexibility. And you're getting a player in Cam Johnson who teams love. Every team that he's been on, from Brooklyn to Phoenix, they've all loved him. They talk about he's a great leader, very smart, high IQ player. Yes, he has dealt with some injuries. That is going to be a concern. But injuries are unpredictable. There's not a trend of an injury like with Michael Porter Jr. earlier in his career, where it was constantly the back injuries. You're not really getting that. You're getting somebody that, he's had kind of an array of different ones. So he can get his body right if he can get it healthy. He should be thrilled to go from a terrible Brooklyn team to being the starter on a very, very good Denver Nuggets team that has by far and away the best player in the NBA with Nikola Jokic. And he just makes everyone else better. I think they're going to fit like a glove. And, he's going to complement Aaron Gordon well. He's going to complement Jamal Murray well. He's going to complement, obviously, Jokic and Christian Brown. It's such a good mix. We got so much better from the starting five, so much more consistent. And then adding Bruce Brown and a lot more guys to come, in my opinion, is going to make our depth on our bench a lot better. And now, we took OKC to 7 games with essentially no depth at all. And Michael Porter Jr., who was hurt, Jamal Murray, who was hurt, and all that. So this can easily take us over the top. And it's just nice as a Nuggets fan to know that this new regime that's come in is really taking the Nikola Jokic championship window and the prime very seriously. And this is an unbelievable first step towards that. Well, Bika Jokic coming true and saying Al Horford would fit like a glove. He definitely would. Yes, he's, a million years old now. He's definitely an older player, but he's someone that could certainly be a really good veteran presence for you that can come in and relieve Jokic, a few different, for 8 to 12 minutes a night, and give you a lot. Al Horford's obviously a very, decorated player. Played a long time. I think he's close to 40 years old now, but he's got some range. Yeah, he's 39. And he just turned 39. But he's got some range. He can knock down the outside shot. He can give you some presence on the inside. He's proven that. He's a savvy veteran. He's somebody that could make a lot of sense too. DeAndre Ayton, I'm a big fan of that as well. Wabika, for sure. I don't know if he's going to constitute and work as a mid-level exception type of a player with him, but he's someone that could make a whole lot of sense. But I do love the idea of adding a backup center, right? And like we had mentioned earlier, it was somebody that the Nuggets have been really in on, had a lot of interest, is forward Gershon Yabusele. Let me pull up his stats here and give you guys a little bit of a visual while I do that. Because he's someone that, like I said, the reports way before this trade were that the Nuggets were interested in this player. And so, but they obviously could not make that happen. Now, with the trade and the flexibility, they're certainly able to do so. So let me go ahead, share the screen and get in. So Gershon Yabusele, man, he's someone that, he's still only 29 years old. Recently played with the 76ers. He's 6'8", 265. So he's a forward / center. He's going to be a little bit shorter as a center, but he can certainly play, especially in minutes where he's coming in relief. But last year, he played 27.1 minutes, which is quite a bit. Shot 50%, 38% from 3. He's a pretty decent free throw shooter for a big man. You love to see, he assists the ball, he gets some rebounds, and he averaged 11 points per game. Those are some things you just got to love. You got to love seeing that. First career averages 6.5. So again, a very ascending player. If I remember, he played internationally for a while too. So he had kind of gaps between playing in Boston and coming back and playing for Philly. But once he came back, significantly improved player. So he's someone that the Nuggets have showed that they're interested in. I think would make a whole ton of sense, especially for what the Nuggets are looking for. We need to have a legitimate big man. They mentioned in the chat here, Wabika talked about Al Horford. I don't hate that, but I would rather go with the younger players that can still come in and knock down shots. I mean, there's a lot about Yabusele's game that can remind you of kind of what Al Horford is, right? He's a big man that can knock down the 3-point shot. He's savvy. He's smart. And I think he's only getting better. He's just kind of starting to tap into his potential. But, as you can see, but he went to the Celtics, and then he played a lot in Europe and also in Asia, I believe. Maine Red Claws, he played for the Nanjing Monkey Kings. I don't know who the hell Asvel is. They're in France, and he played for Real Madrid in Spain. So he played out there in Europe before ultimately coming back and playing really well last year. Really, really well with the opportunities that he got with the Sixers. So you got to love that. He's somebody that could be a really interesting find for us as well, man. But overall, I'd love to know how the hell you guys are feeling for my man Andy coming through. Andy released a Substack article, I think I want to say a couple weeks ago. His first one of the NBA for the season. He's a draft guru, so make sure you check out his content. I'll link that below as well. But his first one was talking about bringing Bruce Brown back, and he's 1 for 1. He nailed it. And Andy's the one that also talked about the Yabusele as a potential. And if he's talking about he wants Al Horford. Like I said, I think Al Horford makes a lot of sense as well. think he makes a whole ton of sense. Like I said, the veteran presence, and at this stage in his career, why wouldn't he want to join the Nuggets? Why wouldn't he want to come to a legitimate contender? Going back to Boston doesn't make a whole lot of sense for him with the Jason Tatum injury, him rupturing his Achilles. So yeah, that's one of those things where he would make a whole lot of sense too. So I like Al Horford. I don't know if you would need to necessarily use the mid-level exception for him. Andy, maybe you can let me know with that. I think he's somebody that you might be able to just sign without using a mid-level exception. I don't really know how it works, if you can choose to use it or if it's just you sign guys that are within a certain range. It's a little bit confusing. But, man, he might want to come here on a little bit of a cheaper deal as well. And so, one second. Got to take the puppos out here in a little bit. Yeah. So anyways, we're going to see what ends up coming from this, man. I don't want to make this stream too long, but I like it. I'm all for it. I think, we'll see how the rest of this free agency period plays out. I think Al Horford, DeAndre Ayton make a lot of sense. Yabusele makes a lot of sense. And then maybe look at some guys that are legitimate, just guys that can come off the bench and knock down the three ball all day. We need legitimate three-point shooters on this team, especially on the bench. Someone like an Alex Caruso, right? Obviously, it's not going to be him, but he's like the perfect type of player that the Nuggets need. He's a savage on defense, and he can knock down the outside shot. Those guys don't obviously come easy. They certainly don't come very cheap. But if you can, get creative and look at all the different options, I'd love to be able to talk about it once those moves continue to come in. I was even all for bringing back Mason Plumlee, but he looks like he went to the Charlotte Hornets on a 1-year, $3.6 million deal. So, all right, let's do it. Let's bring back Al Horford, man. Anyways, until the next video, man, I hope y'all have a wonderful rest of your evening. Kodiak coming in late. Talk about, is Jamal Murray next to be traded? I don't think so. There's a little bit of rumors of people talking about, does LeBron want to come here? And LeBron might want out of LA. And I know a lot of Nuggets fans, they lost their mind. I'm not a LeBron hater. I think he's one of the GOATs. And if we really wanted to go all in on that, I think it'd be very stupid, but it would be hella entertaining. But that's the only type of trade I can see Jamal Murray going for. You'd have to get a very, very good player in return for Jamal. So we'll see. We'll see, man. You never know. And I'm not nearly as in tune with like the NBA free agency and like the players that are available and how the trade works as I am on the NBA on the NFL side. So I don't even want to necessarily speculate. I don't know what you mean by Gary. You said Gary on the hot seat for sure. Yeah, I'm not following there, my man. My bad on that one. Maybe you can clarify in the comments, but yeah, man, huge news, unbelievable. I literally was driving back from work when I heard the news, and I thought, there's no way this is legit. Like, I cannot believe the Nuggets actually found a way to get out of the Michael Porter Jr. contract that was just handcuffing him from being able to do really anything. And not only that, we got a very, very, very good player, someone that I think is a major improvement of Michael Porter Jr. in return in Cam Johnson. I love it. Oh, Jamal's in the hot seat. I got you. And bring back Gary Harris. Where is Gary Harris? What's Gary Harris up to now? I never hated him. I thought he was someone that was he was decent. Kodiak, he's on your squad, bro. He's with the Magic. How did he do with the Magic? He didn't seem like he was a really big time player, but he's definitely someone that, if I remember, he was a pretty good defender overall. So he gives you some defensive prowess, and he can knock down an occasional three-point shot here and there. But I think that there's better options out there. Some guys that are a little bit more intriguing. But let's not forget, we got Deron Holmes too, man. I'm excited to see how he looks coming off the injury. I know he was looking pretty good in the offseason last year before he hurt himself, and he's going to add to the bench immediately. And then you gotta think Julian Strawther's going to get better. You got to think Jalen Pickett's going to get better, right? My guy, my guy Peyton Watson, love Peyton Watson. He's also going to get better too. But these are guys that are good defenders streaky on the offensive side of the ball. I want to get a solid vet player that can knock down shots and get buckets to be next to Bruce Brown. But I can't wait to see Brucey B back. Anyways, man, I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your evening. I'm going to cut it short tonight. Go Nuggets. This is a huge news, and I appreciate y'all tuning in the comments. This was fun. I usually don't get this many people interacting with me on my Nuggets videos and my Nuggets streams, so thanks for riding with me, man. A lot more Broncos content coming out, and hopefully a lot more Nuggets stuff and Avalanche stuff coming out as we get into the off season for those two organizations. So y'all take it easy, man. Kudos to the Denver Nuggets for making an amazing trade. Peace out.